I have terrible news, guys.
What's that?
I just heard from corporate they want us to do a sequel to our part 1 of the Matrix podcast.
Oh, you mean the one that we recorded a little over 3 hours long?
Yeah, that's the one. It ends up only being about 2 hours long in the feed, but they're demanding a sequel. I guess they run out of ideas.
We're contractually obligated.
Yeah, they said they're going to do it with or without us.
Wow.
I know.
Sign up on the Patreon to get the uncut raw edition.
I know.
You'll want it. PG.
Just after
No, it's
probably
R.
not
It's
PG.
R.
after all this time, it's been like a week. After all this time, we're going back to a Matrix podcast. I'm just really excited. Back to where it all began.
Same.
A week ago.
I love it.
Anyway, that's as good a start as any. As you know, I don't really know how to start yet, but it'll be something like that. Or
I still know Kung Fu.
yeah, everyone. Oh man, you got there first. I'm not going to do it this time.
He's just going to copy me. That's what he does.
Oh man, I feel like I'm having deja vu.
Oh man.
Welcome to Late to the Movies. My name is Ben Holt. Every week or sometimes twice on the same day, as depending on if you've listened to the first episode that came out today or not yet, we're going to talk about a movie none of us have seen before. Me and my friends get to fill in our blind spots, etc., etc. I already said the thing about deja vu, so I won't say it again, but you've already heard this intro, so let's just get into it. I'm here with the same people who were on the last one about The Matrix. That's myself, Noah,
Hello.
Cory.
It's me.
Robbie is still in The Matrix, but he'll be here soon. And we're going to talk about Matrix Resurrections. When we last recorded about The Matrix, we hadn't seen this movie yet. We all went to see it just a few days ago, and now we have some thoughts. Big picture, was it what you were expecting? How did it differ? And did you like it? You don't have to answer all those at the same time, but I feel like that's sort of what we should drill into on this episode.
You want to go or?
As far as like expectations, I didn't really know what to expect, but I would say it. I had heard that it was better from the people I talked to. It was not as good as the first, but better than the second and third installments, which I would agree with. So I would say I enjoyed the movie, and I didn't really have any expectations going into it.
It was nothing like what I thought it was going to be.
In a good way, or
in a good way. Yeah.
Okay.
Like just in the sense of like, it wasn't like how I thought it was going to be. So I thought it was just going to be kind of more like the first 3 movies. Like there's going to be, some more fight scenes. They're fighting to save something, a classic 2 and 3 direction. But I feel like I couldn't say whether or not it's better than the second or third movie, because to me it was just so different that it was like a its own thing,
Yeah, I definitely want more time to sort of think it over. But I feel like I would probably at first blush say that Matrix series rankings, this is probably second for me after the original 1999 one. You're right. It's tough though. I think we all like the second and third movie, and even though they're really just one big sort of narrative, I still like those more than it seems like a lot of people do. Even saying that, I would still put this a little bit above those. It does some really cool stuff. So, speaking of defying expectations, I think we all did a pretty good job of avoiding spoilers going into it. I did not expect the first 30 to 40 minutes to be a commentary on how difficult it is to get in the right mental headspace to make a sequel to something in Hollywood.
That was so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all enjoy that a lot.
Yeah, and how I guess to Lana Wachoswki, it's sort of being on like a treadmill of torture, pretty much.
There's a lot of things in that movie that I can't really explain, but while watching it, I was like, oh, this might be really big brain right now. And then I started like connecting things because we just watched all 3 of the movies 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everything's still fresh in my head, at least. And as we were going through the movie, like that beginning scene, I was like, oh my God, like this is referencing this. And like this ties in here. And this is way like, I bet everybody's missing this. Like half of this theater has no idea.
That theater was down for it though. I liked our theater, not to get too off topic, but we had a fun experience where they played the first about, 4 or 5 minutes of the new Spider-Man movie instead of The Matrix.
Wonderful.
Everyone was booing Spider-Man, which is great. I don't know.
It was a little weird when they started playing the preview to the movie we're about to watch.
Yeah, that should have been that should have been a signal for us all, but it wasn't. I just thought it was like a new strategy they were trying out. I don't know.
I was like, do they just have generic previews now for every movie, or I don't know.
Yeah,
I
maybe.
thought that like that was the beginning of the movie, like when it first happened.
The
When they
Spider-Man
No. Well, I wasn't there for that part.
in the Matrix. There's Spider-Man.
When
They're
they
having the
started playing
trailer.
the trailer for the Matrix. I was like, yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it's also a commentary on other Hollywood blockbusters, or it's not. I don't know. It's the Wachowskis. It might be a bunch of things. It might not be any of the things you think it is. It might just be a love story and an action movie. But I think it's certainly some in there, at least personally, I think, about, other modern blockbusters and how successful or monetarily, but not necessarily successful artistically, they might be.
Mm-hmm.
Seems to be a lot of frustration from Lana Wachowski in this movie about that. There was a really cool article. I don't know if you guys checked it out. I've mentioned this critic before, Emily Vanderwerf. She wrote, I think, on Vox about the way this movie depicts trauma therapy and how it is sort of on the surface kind of obvious, but then a lot more nuanced as you get into it. And I like her read of it. So this is maybe the fourth time I'm saying this, but go read her stuff because it's more insightful than I'm probably going to be today, at least.
Wait, you've told us this already?
Not about specifically this situation, but in this, I think the Silence of the Lambs episode, we said that too. So
Okay. Yeah, because I would like to read that. That sounds like right down my alley.
Yeah, no, it's really great. She looks at it as there's two ways to interpret, because we should say, Neil Patrick Harris is in this at first as Keanu Reeves is Neo's in-universe, in-Matrix therapist, but then you find out he's sort of actually the new architect who's built everything, and he represents another form of control. And that can be taken as a pretty uncharitable reading of therapy, or you can look at it the way she does. And I don't want to, paraphrase someone who's a lot smarter than me, but it's a lot more nuanced and a lot more about processing trauma in a pretty interesting way. Yeah.
I thought it was really cool that they kind of like hinted to what was going on by, first of all, Neil Patrick Harris had these very distinct blue glasses.
Yeah, I kind of want those glasses.
I was like,
they were fantastic.
Oh, okay. And then the blue pills that he was taking daily.
A lot of blue pills.
That was so great.
Yeah. I was kind of surprised by how good Neil Patrick Harris was in this. Not that
he killed it.
Yeah, not that I necessarily am like a Neil Patrick Harris hater or anything, but it's just like, I mean, he's just bringing it. He has a really kind of similar, not in function, but had a similar experience watching him in Gone Girl, where he pops up and you're like, oh, he's awesome. Why isn't he always in stuff like this being awesome?
Oh, I forgot he was in that movie.
This is
instead of just being funny.
Yeah. And this is like the first time for me that I've seen him since Gone Girl, and a thing where I'm like, wow, this is a really cool mode for him, and he's really killing it. So I thought he was great. Yeah, I don't know.
He was awesome.
I feel like there were a few other things that were blue that really just stuck out, and I was like, oh,
yeah,
that's probably intentionally blue. Like it's like very blue and stands out in a way that doesn't really stand out. Like after I saw the glasses, I started looking like, what else is blue in this world?
Was the cat's collar blue or her bowl or something?
I think something else in the office.
Really
it might have been the bowl. And it was funny that the cat's
bowl
name
said deja vu on it, which I'm assuming the name. Yeah. Great. Neo, who just thinks he's Tom at this point, meets up with Trinity, who thinks her name's Tiffany, in a bar called Simulate. In a coffee shop called Simulate.
I saw it right away and laughed.
Good stuff. Just fun stuff. Just fun stuff. Does anyone want to, I guess we maybe could have started with this, but whatever. Would anyone want to try and just give a quick plot summary?
I don't. So what do you guys want to take the
It's new to all of us. I can do it if you want to.
Well, just to preface this, we know in the last movie, Neo died.
Yeah.
Well,
super died.
So the movie starts. We're back at Neo. Neo is this game developer, like world famous game developer. He doesn't seem to really know who he is outside of the Matrix. Trinity's also in there, that married to another guy.
Chad,
yeah. It's funny that his name's Chad. And then
played by Chad Stahelski, Keanu's stunt double from the original Matrix movies, and the director of John Wick. So
that's awesome.
But yeah, even if it wasn't him, that guy should still be named Chad. It's very funny.
100%.
But Neo sees Trinity and has this, some kind of spark. And the game he's been creating the whole time is called The Matrix. Oh, funny. So basically, he has all these memories in the back of his head that he kind of perceives as creativity, and then ends up creating a game that is pretty much just all of his past. And then people come into the world, try to save him. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Yeah, they do. And then it's just a fight with the robots. They find out that the robots actually aren't all bad. Some of them want to team up together and make the world a better place, which is cool. Yeah, they're successful in the end. Love prevails.
Yeah, I think that's,
and that's Robbie here.
Cool. Good timing by Rob. So Robbie's here, back from his trip into the Matrix. What'd you find?
I found my car keys and
all right.
Traffic. Well, not that traffic.
Couple levels
Got here in
of
like
RuneScape.
10 minutes. It's pretty impressive. Yeah,
really quick.
One level. At that point, it sucks. It's like an hour and a half per level. So, yeah.
We started with a bit that absolutely killed about how I heard from corporate and they're making us do a sequel to the podcast about the first podcast about the Matrix. We all laughed and laughed.
Fantastic.
I don't
listeners.
even think I heard that. I was like spacing out at the beginning of that.
Yeah, I was wondering why you weren't yes-anding it. You were talking about other stuff. Me and Noah were trying to do a really funny bit.
Oh, yeah.
You just kept talking about other stuff, but whatever.
I was like, Ben's saying something stupid.
I was like, okay, I guess it's the direction he wants to pull it in.
That's what he does for most of the podcast, anyways.
But now you said it, I'm like, oh, that's brilliant.
All right, whatever.
I can't wait to hear this
want
when
us
the
to
rest of everybody
redo
else
it?
does.
All right, guys, we're back. Robbie's here. Corporate, send him in. All right.
Yeah, it's Jonathan Groff's character, the secret agent Smith. So Cory just recapped the plot. Right at the beginning, we should mention that much like we did a few weeks ago, a couple new characters to the franchise are watching the beginning of the first Matrix movie. The characters look a little bit off, and instead of Agent Smith being played by Hugo Weaving, it's instead played by Yahya Abdul-Mateen II from a bunch of stuff. I mostly know him from Watchmen. He's been in a ton of stuff though. So, and then, it's a really cool sequence where it's not quite working as it should. And then eventually Bugs, who has blue hair and she's new. She has like a white rabbit tattoo and says, "What's up, Doc?" at one point.
And a carrot on her t-shirt.
She does have a carrot on her t-shirt also. It's all really of a theme. She meets up with the fake Agent Smith. It turns out he's also Neo. He's also Morpheus. Whatever. That's we don't have to go point by point, but just that's how Morpheus gets into the movie.
Neo coded him this time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I was wondering, that Morpheus or that rendition of Morpheus, that came from Neo coding him, or was that just like...
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if it was like the leftover, in some sense, remnants of Morpheus that was captured while he was in the Matrix, saved as data, and then like organically created.
I think it's okay. So there's going to be a lot of guesswork in this one because it's not.
He definitely did because
It's
it
not
was within
specific, but yeah, it was in Neo's modal that he was testing out.
Although
So-
I don't know.
Yeah, because the modal wasn't so Neo was running tests because they didn't I assumed the modal was part of like the architect or the analyst's plan in this one, but I think that was all just Neo. So Neo was building Morpheus. He was building Morpheus to be able to bust him out of the pieces.
Yeah, talking to the mic.
Fine, I'll talk into the mic. Okay, so yeah, Neo was building that modal to run a Morpheus that could successfully break him out of the prison that the analyst had him in. That was
Yep.
the purpose of everything and that's
Pretty
how
much,
Bugs found him, because they were like, what is the purpose of this? So it was never the analyst running that modal. That was all Neo. Okay.
Mhm.
Done it
All
in
right.
secret.
So I guess it was like a subconscious
Yeah.
part of Neo.
Yeah. And so Neo, who again just at this point thinks he's Tom Anderson for the first like 40-ish minutes of the movie, he won a 1999 Game Award, which I think predates the Game Awards, but it was the actual, they only showed for a bit, but it was the actual trophy that like Jeff Keighley hands out every year now for the Game Awards, which I thought was pretty funny. And yeah, so that's what the Neil Patrick Harris's analyst, taking over the architect now, has made Neo believe that he wrote all these things and these memories that he has are just him thinking that parts of the game that he wrote are coming to life or whatever.
Which, if you're going to try to keep somebody controlled, way better than trying to rewrite their history, because all the memories always come through in like all of these shows. So instead, it's like, yep, no, the memories are real. That was just a game you made.
That
It's
is
like,
a really good idea.
It's really smart.
Yeah,
I like that he did that.
Yeah, and I know you actually read it, so just to circle back, we talked a little bit about the Emily Vanderwerf article about, how to her the new Matrix movie is about trauma and stuff.
Yeah, no, that was really interesting. I liked it. I also thought it kind of like playing off what she wrote kind of made me think maybe it was also a take on like the kind of the attitude of if somebody says they're upset, it's always like, oh, go to therapy, which kind of takes out the like that person has to want to go to therapy and they have to put in the work going to therapy, or else it can just be a trap where like this person's just talking at you and you're like, well, I'm in therapy. And it's, oh, okay, well, are you interacting? Are you engaging? Are you listening? Or did you just check the I'm in therapy box? And like, not to talk shit on anybody going for any reason. It's always great to go. I think there is something to be said there about like, it's one of those things that's only going to work to the extent of what you're willing to put in. So I don't know, big tangent. And she just triggered a lot of thoughts when I read through her take on it. And I think there is a lot to dissect there. And you do want to be careful of not getting into the don't be a sheeple by going to a therapist kind of attitude you could potentially take from that, because that's clearly not Lana Wachowski's.
Yeah, no, I think that's totally right on.
Has there been an official statement from Lana Wachowski about what she made the movie?
No, I think she was pretty quiet in the lead up to the release. I would assume intentionally in an effort to not color anyone's opinion, because there is explicitly a sequence early in the movie when it's just having all this fun with the metatextual stuff that it's doing, where it's sort of a montage of different people sitting around a table deciding like what should the Matrix sequel be about? Well, the Matrix is a love story. The Matrix is about bullet time and guns. The Matrix is about trauma. It's so funny.
I couldn't get over that because it was so good. I mean, is tongue in cheek the right word?
Yeah,
it was just
I think so.
All of these theories you've heard and all of these people that have made these solid arguments, and she touched on so many of them, and it was just fantastic.
Yeah, I think there's even one person that says it's like a trans allegory or something.
Yeah,
it's about trans people.
They put that in there right away. They even, I think she even said something we had mentioned before that was like, oh, it's going to be about living in the post-trans world now because like they had their transition and all that. And, that was the big difference between the two. So it was interesting to see that like even she touched on that in the movie. I was also going to say, this is for our group, we saw Dune, and I'm in like a Dune Facebook joke group, and somebody already made a meme about like, oh, here's another vague and unanswering Matrix movie coming out or something along those lines. So I'm like, wow, that was 1.5 days. It was pretty damn quick for people already. Like, what were you expecting? That's these movies, but
yeah, we can talk a little bit about sort of audience response. It's been pretty divisive, which means I know that it accomplished what Lana Wachowski wanted it to.
Oh, 100%.
It could have played it super safe, but I think none of us were expecting it to, and in that regard, I don't think we were disappointed.
I've said I think they set the bar for reboots because I am so sick and tired of seeing the same story repeated. I am excited to see like they touched on the old story, they tied it to the old story, but this was a new story. It has a new everything. So I don't know. It was cool.
I feel like they didn't over milk the nostalgia.
No,
they definitely like tapped into it, but I didn't think it was like too much where it's like, all right, like, come on, you have to actually do something.
It almost felt like when they were tapping into it, they were making fun of themselves while doing it.
Yeah, which was great.
Absolutely.
That whole scene just made me feel good.
Yeah,
you
like,
got to
this
it.
movie
You
is
felt like
fucking
you were
awesome.
in on a joke with them. Like everyone was having fun there. So I don't know. It was well done.
What's it called when you like do something like talking out of
Break the fourth wall?
Yeah, they were like breaking the fourth wall, but like kind of not really.
Yeah,
in like such a masterful way.
Yeah, they weren't quite like, Keanu Reeves wasn't like looking and winking directly at the camera, but they knew what they were doing, and it was fun. That can go I mean, that can get corny really quickly and go in a pretty bad way, but I feel like it was handled really, really interestingly here.
Well, they kind of pull you out of it quick, right? Because I feel like you have that going on, and then all of a sudden there's like that trippy, like gaslighty moment. And I can't remember, we just saw it recently, so I don't have it fully like hammered out in my head, but like I feel like it was a pretty jarring, like you had all of these jokes, and then all of a sudden something trippy was happening with Keanu where you were like, wait, what's going on? So it was a nice like transition between like, here we are and here's where we're going.
So the whole first act essentially takes place within this new Matrix created by Neil Patrick Harris as analyst. And I think a lot of people have noted that the visuals, at least while they're inside the Matrix, are pretty flat and like hyper saturated, and it's constantly Twilight for some reason and stuff. And I think, I mean, and this is one of the ways you can go wrong in giving it too much credit. I personally don't think that's possible, but a lot of people do, that's intentional and supposed to be commentary on how franchise movies all look the same and all look flat and the action's boring or whatever. So I don't think it's supposed to be bad and make you be like, oh, it's bad and that's the point. I still enjoyed it, but I'm just saying I think that's on purpose. That's one of the criticisms that feels worthy of addressing.
Oh, interesting. I mean, I think you could also just tie that into a commentary on the analyst world, because I don't have his whole like thing memorized, but I think that was a part of his whole purpose of building it, is it had to be kind of like gray and miserable, because the more you almost had what you wanted and the more you could hope for things, the more energy we generated. So I think you could even just write that off as like, yeah, he designed it to be kind of gray and miserable. It was supposed to be flat. I don't know. It works on a lot of levels.
So the whole first act leads up to this really awesome sequence where Keanu, as Tom, is having what he thinks is a full breakdown after the building's being evacuated, and he runs into a bathroom, sort of reminiscent of the first movie where he's getting texts from someone he doesn't know that are like, they're in the building, go through this way if you want to, not get caught. He goes into a bathroom, meets new Morpheus, who he designed. So he looks different, I guess. That's the implication.
He's way more fabulous.
His personality is also different.
On point.
Yes, yeah.
Dude, fresh.
And he's just a program now, but it's in the Matrix, so he can pop up.
Which phenomenal job of designing, or in showing the design of a program that had to go and learn to try to be Morpheus, because he had that good blend of almost Morpheus, but still clearly like it was somebody that learned and is trying to be Morpheus. So I think that was very good.
Like his taglines and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. And then he's like, I don't know. And then he's practicing the line in the mirror and stuff. So,
Again, just having fun with it. So it was cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
Man, that sequence is awesome, where Neo is thinking that this is all in his head. Morpheus is taking down countless SWAT team members. Jonathan Groff, who he is also sort of in a similar mind prison as Neo, because it's actually Agent Smith. He's relearning that he's Agent Smith, not just Tom Anderson's partner in this video game developer. And
there's water everywhere.
There's water everywhere because it's the Matrix. There's got to be water. And and then he's yelling Mr. Anderson, and he's starting to shoot at him too. And it's all this slow motion stuff, and everything's exploding. It's just a really cool sequence. And then he wakes up at Neil Patrick Harris's place. But not too soon after that, they finally convince him to jump out. And it's been 60 years, it turns out.
Well, it is kind of funny because I think that interaction too doesn't end. The first one doesn't end with him escaping. Just like in the first Matrix, he ends up getting caught by the agents because he doesn't fully follow the instructions in the first movie either. So that was kind of cool, but they did do it in a completely different way. So I don't know. It's just interesting.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the performances as we head off to the new human city, Io, kind of made by, I guess, separatists sort of from Zion, who didn't want to continue being like sort of military junta led or whatever.
They said they just didn't want to control. So I'd assume they were sick of being part of the system. Probably people a lot like Suri's parents that just kind of found something else that they were interested in doing, which kind of seems like the natural progression of robot evolution, if that's kind of also what we're watching in these movies. So it's just interesting to see them go from very task-based, which we were as a species too, just agricultural grind, build, and then expand out into arts, which started really with Surrey and making the sunset, and now like they have all these new technologies in this hidden city. So I don't know,
just to
cool.
save your mentions, it's Sati.
Shit. So yeah, Sati. Sorry.
So just so angry Matrix heads don't spam you online. And
That's
such.
fine. Color S.
That was Robbie.
That wasn't me.
Robert?
Fine. At ROBVIE5643.
That's his phone number.
No.
Wasn't just to mention too, a big part of like their transition to this like different kind of civilization is the integration of like other robots and like AI that have decided to.
Absolutely, yeah. So I like what this movie does is, there's the sentients now who are these. It's the preferred term for robots now, or machines, because I guess they mostly said machines in the original trilogy.
Yep.
So the sentients are machines who have come over to not necessarily even the human side, because we only see them in Io, but this side who believes in sort of manufacturing this piece and preserving what they have and building from there. And now they have strawberries. So it's pretty cool. So this movie shifts focus from humans versus machines to now there's actual sides, and it's not just humans and just machines. Presumably, if there is a sequel to this movie, I'm imagining there will be humans on the other side too, to sort of balance out.
Interesting. I would imagine that, because we had Cypher in the first one, and you'd think and it would be easy to even do a propaganda campaign if they want to try to play on public events where they let people know, oh, you wouldn't want to wake up. Look how terrible it is out there. And there's so many directions to go. I was interested to see like the machine warfare, which kind of gives you a little bit of background into like why they were so interested in keeping humans in check, because apparently their civilization isn't that much better than ours was. They're still militaristic and warring. So it's interesting. I'm excited to see.
Yeah. And I forget which game it is, if it's Matrix Online or Enter the Matrix or whatever, but there is a group of humans that call themselves ciphers that are, working with the machines essentially.
That's really funny.
Humans in the Matrix. So yeah, some of the performances are just, I thought, really good. So the main new character is Bugs, played by Jessica Henwick, who has also been in Game of Thrones. And I think she was also.
Really?
What was she?
You can't just glance over that.
I thought we had already talked about this. So she's one of the Sand Snakes. I don't know which one. They're like the least developed characters in the entire show. But
yeah, potential to be the coolest, least developed. It was a good job.
Yeah, only 3 of them. But she was one of the 3 that made it into the show.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah.
Nice.
The glasses she had were really cool.
They were.
The blue ones. I ended up seeing online that there's like a designer that released all of the Matrix sunglasses from the movie.
Oh, that's cool.
That's cool. I think they were fairly expensive.
Yes.
Yeah, makes
It was
sense.
in pounds, but they were all like, I think close to
With like the
500
bar
pounds.
across the lens
Yeah.
and stuff. Wow, those were cool.
I noticed a couple of people had them in the movie, and I was wondering if they were going to tie them into them doing something, especially with them like opening up portals places, but just seemed like they were cool
No,
glasses.
it's the Matrix. Everyone's got cool sunglasses.
Did she when Morpheus took the red pill, didn't she give him her sunglasses to sort of like balance him out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So yeah, they might have served some kind of purpose.
They're like the blue part of the 3D.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So everything turns red when you take
That's the
the
idea.
That's what it is. Here's your blue
balance it out.
vision.
Yeah. So
yes.
one thing we should talk about is they call out one of the criticisms of the first Matrix movies, that the red pill, blue pill thing isn't a choice at all. Something we talked about in the last episode a little bit, but they mentioned, it's just, I think it's Morpheus who says, well, that's no choice at all, a few times in the movie, but first time when presented with, well, you can't really go back.
I mean, it kind of makes sense, because even if you're going to turn out to be a person like a Cypher, I think if your choices or decisions or whatever have led you to this point where you're being presented with the pills, you're the type of person that has to, and even if you're like, oh, this is horrible, like you're not going to be able to not know what is on the other side of that rabbit hole because you've gotten to the rabbit hole. Like people probably walk by the rabbit hole all the time and could at any point question it, but they just never do. You're the one that found it and now have this choice. I don't know. That's just my take.
No, I think that's totally right. Sorry.
Yeah, makes sense.
This is semi-related, semi-unrelated. Really big missed opportunity to not play Eiffel 65 during any point of this blue. Like even in the background of the cafe, if they just put it on, like blue.
That would have been a nice touch.
It would have been a perfect fit. The part where they play White Rabbit, they just play I'm Blue instead. I think that would have worked.
It would have like played a little more on like the almost satirical, serious aspect from that planning scene.
That sounds perfect.
And it's also it also aligns with that like nostalgia.
Yeah.
Although
for sure.
Does the Matrix have music that is non-original? I can't remember like any specific songs beside the ending.
Oh, well, White Rabbit, like I just said, is in there. No, I think you're right though. Then at the end it's a different version of Wake Up, just like the first movie ended with the OG Rage Against the Machine version. This one ends with a version by Brass Against,
which I did not care for, to be honest. But
I didn't care for the after credits scene either. That was kind of a waste of time.
Yeah,
whatever. I like reading the credits.
I don't.
Nope.
Fun reference, and I mean, next 5 seconds are a spoiler to a fun reference to the Catrix, fun, internet meme from back in the day, but whatever. What did you guys, we've talked around other stuff enough. What did you guys think of Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss in this movie? It is, after all, a love story. Maybe. I think so.
It is a love. I mean, you can't, they literally in the trilogy was a whole scene about showing how love is what brought him back to life and sparked everything.
Yeah, it's been like a love story since day one. I didn't realize
I think so too.
It was just part of it. I mean, I never thought it was worth like calling out as a separate part of the, I don't understand the debate, I guess. And I understand it exists. It's just like, it's always had, it's not just a love story, just like it's not just an action movie, just like it's not just a cyberpunk thing. I don't know. It's a lot of things. So I don't.
It's definitely like an element of it, though.
And I think they did a good job with it. I think it was interesting to see like them playing almost like older celebrities. It seemed like they were kind of just being aged people in the movie as well as like in real life. I don't know. It's hard to like, it just felt kind of real, I guess, is what I'm looking for.
Well, the other characters in the real worlds are also Matrix fans. They're fans of the original stories too. So these people are like living legends. So yeah, they're basically celebrities. It's pretty fun.
Right. Cool.
Yep. Yeah. Performance wise, I think Keanu and Carrie-Anne Moss are just awesome. It's like they haven't, everyone's the popular thing to say is that they look the same. They haven't aged a day or whatever. But I feel like how much older they look is such an interesting part of the fabric of this movie. Carrie-Anne Moss's character in Matrix, Tiffany, is introduced by the character that you later find out is Keanu's handler as a total effing MILF, which
that's how he says it too, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I think I'm quoting.
Total effing MILF.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. They definitely look the same, but I don't think you could say they don't look like they've aged. They look like older versions of them. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
They were very clearly heavily touched up. It was really noticeable when it cut into a close-up shot of their hands. You could just like their hands looked a lot older. You know what I mean?
I think that's just their hands.
Yeah.
No, like they looked like
everything else was touched up, but when it showed the hands, they looked.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
When you start to see more of like the veins and like the wrinkliness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they looked great.
They did look great though.
Yeah,
I mean, Keanu doesn't age. He's going to be around forever.
So yeah, I just think that it's just such an interesting part of that playing into this kind of. I think you mentioned it's love conquering all kind of thing, but. When Tiffany Trinity remembers who she is in that Simulate coffee shop, and they're kind of trying to claw through the crowd back towards each other and reaching out towards each other. I don't know, that got me. It's obviously just manufactured to do that because that's how Hollywood movies operate.
When she stopped and turned around, I was just like,
oh
yeah.
I think what it is they both felt and looked tired. And I
Yep.
think a lot of us can relate to just like feeling and
Yeah.
looking tired all the time. Like, and I think they did an excellent job of like just showing that kind of just exhausted and still fighting. It was very well and beautifully done. And there was a lot of points where like they just didn't make it. You know, like they didn't break through. They didn't catch the guy. They ran and retreated and regrouped and kept at it. There was just a lot to be said about the way they did things where they didn't, you know, the first movie and they did a homage for it at the beginning. Those guys are already dead. And in this, like, snap your fingers and they're frozen in jelly trying to claw through the crowd. I don't know. It's just
One of my favorite Keanu like acting scenes is when Morpheus comes and tries to get him to, you know, go with him. And he's just like, I thought he did a really good job during that whole scene.
Keanu was awesome in this
Being,
movie.
Like, terrified.
He was
of
really good.
Both his mind and what was happening and like
Yeah.
not knowing what to do. I was like, wow, he really
I'm totally with you there.
himself there.
I always like Keanu as a presence in movies, but I feel like this is, and whatever, just at me about, I guess, you know, the Dracula movie he's in where he's doing a crazy accent, whatever. I'm just saying I like Keanu, and I thought he was really good in this movie, even like above average for him. He was really freaking good.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially like having watched all the 3 other movies recently and to watch this one right after, especially he had a lot of movies in between there, but you can really see the gap in improvement in his acting. Like I think
that's totally
very
fair.
noticeable. It makes sense. I mean, he's done like 50 projects in between the last one and this one. Like he has so much more experience in it. He brings it, so it's great to see.
I'm just upset the Keanu Sans is taking a break in 2022 because John Wick 4 got pushed back to 2023. But
That's disappointing.
hey, it's pandemic times. I'm glad this movie came out.
Absolutely.
Another, like arguably, I'd say one of the best performances, Neil Patrick Harris.
Yeah.
He was awesome.
He killed it.
So
I
good.
was just like,
Yeah.
Blown away.
so good.
The
Yeah.
sequence, the bullet time sequence they call out early in their movie, the Matrix is about bullet time, and then the analyst using that against Neo in the Matrix by going hyper bullet time himself, and that sequence sort of in whatever, you know, frame rate they were using on his movements in there, and
Yep.
cool stuff. He slows everything down. He puts a bullet through an apple. He's taunting Keanu, and everyone else is going in slow motion. There's sparks slowly flying around in the background of a bike shop. Cool shit. I don't know.
I was gonna say really good. And my first thought was like, oh, it looks like he's finally breaking free from that like Barney role. And I remember to the beginning where you called him Barney. I was like, oh, I guess not completely free. He's almost there. But like it's a good because I feel like every time I see him in anything, it's like, oh, there's Barney. And he's clearly a good actor. And I think he deserves more than being Barney for the rest of his life. And hopefully we keep seeing him do things like this. 'Cause
Yeah, we
he did a
mentioned
great
earlier
job.
how good he is in Gone Girl, but he
I don't
just
think
should
I've
be
seen
in
that.
more stuff like that.
Anytime you're in like a sitcom like that, though, for
it's tough.
extended seasons, it's
Especially
hard to
we're all,
break out.
we're all like kind of the same age, and
Out of that role.
we're exactly the same age, and a lot of us have seen a lot of How I Met Your Mother. So,
Oh yeah.
How I Met Your Father starts soon.
is that a real thing?
Mm-hmm. Hillary Duff starring in it. So
I don't know about
the trailer
about that.
came out, and that's how I felt. And then the trailer came out, and it actually like looked pretty good, but we don't have a lot of time. So
I don't know how much we're gonna dive into other parts, but the only thing I was like kind of iffy on was how the movie ended. I like the whole scene where they were falling, and then she suddenly starts. Maybe there's just stuff that I missed, but then she just starts floating, and then they just fly into the sky, and then they're back. Like I feel like it was like a rushed ending, and like
well,
not exactly what I.
they set up the flying thing a bunch of times.
Yeah.
People keep asking him if he can fly, and he keeps trying to, and he can't. Neo, that is. And then my thinking was like, okay, when they start the last sort of chase scene in the Matrix, and you know the analyst activates all of the drones, and they start jumping out of the windows and splattering on the ground, which was not something I've seen in a movie before.
No.
Yeah, that was pretty out there. I was like, oh man, they're really going for this. He tries to fly and then he can't. So then my movie brain's thinking, oh, okay, so at the end of this, he is going to fly. And then as he's sort of like laboring and they're getting into that building, then eventually they go to the roof too, because they have to have a final confrontation on the roof. It's a Matrix movie. I was thinking, oh no, Trinity's going to fly, and that's how it's going to end. So that's what I figured was going to happen.
They just didn't really explain like. So they were obviously running because they couldn't get out of that matrix at that point. But then they jumped off the roof. She started flying, and then, like they didn't really explain how they got out. I guess you're just supposed to assume that.
I mean, they flew away.
Nobody else can fly.
Yeah, no one else can fly
anywhere.
Yeah, but how'd they get out?
They flew to a different door because now they can use doors instead of
so
phones.
I thought the same thing when I saw it, though.
Any part of the world they could just fly to. I think that it was once they unlock flying, you're just, what are you going to do about it?
Right. The implication is that they control the Matrix now because that's what happened to Neo, pretty much. So So no one can hurt them in the Matrix anymore.
Point, you know, like they flew, and then it was like,
okay,
all right, we're all done.
Yep. And then there's the ending sequence where they're finally wearing the leather trench coats and got sunglasses on, and they sort of have a similar scene to the end where Neo's on the phone, kind of just taunting robots, and then he flies away. But instead, they just go directly to Neil Patrick Harris's house and taunt him to his face, and Trinity punches him a bunch, and then they both fly away. It's good stuff. I don't know.
It's a good scene.
Yeah. I also don't know how I feel about that scene.
Yeah, so that I mean that rests on
straight opinion. Like,
no, that's good. If we all agree, it's a boring podcast.
True.
Yeah, I definitely wasn't super thrilled with the end. I think fantastic movie all the way up until probably like the last 5 minutes or so. I had some like different directions I would have went in, but I think a lot of it might not have necessarily been how Lana would have wanted to end it. It seems like a lot of it is designed to get you hooked for the next movie. You know, like you cut off right after the flying, because in the first one you cut off right after the flying, and you don't want to like waste all the good abilities. You want to draw people into the second movie to see like it kind of plays into like that marketing piece of things. I don't know.
I also think what you're saying, and I really hope, like Noah said, I really hope they don't make another one, just because like it has a lot more potential to be bad than it does good. And as much as I would love to watch more Matrix movies, of course, because I love them all, that like risk I feel like is too much.
It's like when you play House on the Hill and the thing goes up by one every time, and you roll the dice, it's got to be lower. Yeah, no, every time you make a movie, I feel like your chances of making it worse and worse are just...
Especially my opinion of the end. Like, I feel like subconsciously I'm carrying that through to the next movie, and I'm like,
yeah, I see what you're saying.
If they're gonna like build up for the next movie at the end of this one, then who knows, the next movie might be like entirely a build up for the third one. And
yeah,
they could do what they did last time, release 2 and 3 6 months apart from each other.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'll be honest. I'll watch whatever they put out.
I'm going to keep doing that. Yeah. I'll go to IMAX again.
And, maybe we'll be pleasantly surprised. I think if you go in with that attitude and they do impress like she did this time,
yeah,
even better.
One thing we were talking about at the end of the movie, after it finished, like the potential for other media content revolving around the story and world of the Matrix. So, like I was saying, I would like to see a show. Either about, what happened in the 60 years with, was it Io or Ion?
Io. I mean, Zion.
It was destroyed by robots. That was all the skeletons she showed them, because they waited for like Neo to come save them, and that's how Morpheus died in the real world.
Oh, well.
So I'd watch a show about that.
Yeah. So like a show about like a lot. 60 years is a long time. They built an entire like civilization basically within that time. So there's definitely a lot of potential for like a show about that. Nothing to do, like no reference or no like showing of Neo or anything. Just like that side crew that kind of built up, and they could even like mention stuff about like Neo and everything and how they still believe in him, but like really keep it a separate thing just within that fictitious world.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential for that 60-year period, because it sounded like Zion and Io were in existence at the same time at one point, where like they had differences of opinion and stuff. So you could really have that, and I forgot Jada Pinkett Smith's character's name, Niobe and Morpheus kind of running their own shows. It's really interesting, but I don't know if we'll get to see that.
We're talking about how good all the performances are, and I think we just need to touch on Jada Pinkett Smith real quick.
Let Noah take this one.
Okay. Okay.
I'm sorry, I just didn't buy it. I didn't buy Niobe. I think she went too hard.
She's become like extremely embittered and seems to be terrible at her job.
Yeah, she just went too hard on the old lady thing. Like, you could tone it back a little bit. You didn't have to be like this
Neo's back.
I could have done just as good.
when she's walking around.
I'm an old man.
Yeah.
I'm angry about everything.
Yeah, that's basically what
You
she sounded like to me.
don't understand.
Yeah, I like her motivations are kind of like they don't make any sense. You'd think she'd be excited to see him. Even her explanation
Yeah,
is
she
like,
immediately
doesn't know
arrests
how she
Neo, we
feels.
should say.
Yeah.
He literally saved all of them.
Oh yeah.
So they're like, we don't trust you this time. You only did like the impossible before.
And no one seems to agree with her. Everyone's like, "Look, can we not arrest him?" Even the guy who's arresting Neo's like, I'm sorry, this is really awkward.
it seems like that relative like you get warned about when you bring someone to like a family gathering. Like, oh, pay no attention to her. She's a little old and senile. Like, she's gonna be gone soon. Just let her be.
So it was a combination of the character was weird, and then Jada Pinkett Smith old lady voice was pretty strange.
And
too.
her like when it pans out and it's her walking around trying to address the group. She has like a limp and I don't know, just
pretty weird. I guess the implications is she's like in her 80s. It's been 60 years, so
yeah, roughly.
she can't have been younger than her 20s in the
Just
first
get an
couple
old
movies.
lady to play.
Yeah.
An old lady.
I love the part
We
at
don't
the
need
end
her.
where she's like, I gotta send people, and Bugs is like, I volunteered. She's like, I was gonna send you, and she's like, well, I volunteer, and so does fucking everyone else. Like, we all want to do this, you crazy old lady.
Yeah, everyone agrees this is good.
This is a good idea. Like,
Who decided to reach out to Jada Pinkett Smith to play that role?
I don't know. I mean, she's a pretty famous person who was in the first movie, so I guess like,
have
she
her
was
play an
good
old
in.
person. Like anybody else, like another old person could have done it, and it would have passed as that same character.
Yeah.
so Jada Pinkett Smith is a very famous person, but is she a good actress?
I don't know, she's good in stuff.
I don't know about that. I feel like she's just a famous person. I've never heard of like, have you ever seen Jada Pinkett Smith in blah, blah, blah? Never.
I think if we weren't all white, we would have a lot more pulls for
Oh,
like
man,
what she's good
that's
in.
fair.
Yeah, she's
Fine.
done a good
right?
amount of stuff. I'm not a big
Was
fan
Queen
personally,
Latifah?
but I might have like
Yeah,
a little
right.
bit of will in the back of my mind. You know,
People really like Girls Trip. Yeah, that's true.
I haven't seen
I
that
don't
one.
know what that is.
But yeah. So good movie. Go see it or go turn on HBO Max.
Check it out.
Any final thoughts on what may or may not be the final episode of Matrix if they don't make another one again?
Oh, they're making another one again.
Yeah, it seems like now we'll just do the Matrix movies if they make another one.
How well did it do, like in box office?
Nothing's doing good right now besides Spider-Man, so I mean, I wouldn't necessarily go by that.
Yeah, but do they count when they play the first 3 minutes of it in a random theater?
Right, yeah, but I mean, it's an R-rated movie that's it's an R-rated movie that's out at the same time as Spider-Man, which is only in theaters. This R-rated movie is weird and had pretty divisive critical reviews, and is also available on HBO Max. So it's
Yeah.
not doing well.
Well, I'm just not like I'm not saying well compared to like say Spider-Man or something, but is it? There's still got to be some kind of metric for this like unique situation that shows that it's doing like better than expected. Or
Warner would
it's
know,
just completely
but
flopping.
Warner doesn't release like how many people have watched something on HBO Max, so it's hard to tell.
We'll know how well
That
it
makes
did
sense.
if we get a second one, because they'll stop kicking this dead horse when it stops spitting out money.
Does Warner Brothers own Matrix?
Mhm.
Like the rights to all of the Matrix
to
content?
make at least the movies.
Oh yeah, we're gonna see another one.
But yeah, no, anything, I mean, not to get too deep into box office right now, but anything made for adults that's a little strange is doing very badly right now. Not even just strange, but anything that's made explicitly for adults is doing bad right now. Stuff that skews younger is doing okay. Stuff that is Marvel is doing pretty good. And if you're Spider-Man, you're going to make like $1 billion in the middle of a pandemic. It's going to be like more than half of the year's total gross at the box office just from the
it's
Spider-Man
nuts.
The
movie.
next
Holy
Matrix
crap.
could have Spider-Man.
Yeah, crossover.
That's how we save it.
I genuinely, when they started playing the wrong movie in the Matrix, I thought that they were going to do like Spider-Man references in the new Matrix because, I mean, they could. Why not? It's a new movie coming around the same time as Spider-Man.
They might get sued by Sony,
Yeah.
but
Well,
It's-
you know how
Man,
those, they do
Spider.
like tie-ins and so shit. Sony might pay them, you know?
One thing that I was thinking about, kind of interesting. One of my friends in Korea called me, And I was talking about, I saw the Matrix movie, and he's like, oh yeah, I really want to see it. It's not out yet, or he didn't think it was out yet in Korea. And one thing I really thought about is I think a lot of the movie, especially that whole scene that had a lot of the breaking the fourth, third, whatever wall jokes. I feel like it's not going to translate that well.
Probably
like
not.
A lot of the movie is going to be missed out in translation.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Let us know what they think after they see it. It'll be interesting.
Extremely unique movie among blockbusters, and the sort of self-referential stuff, the sort of maybe there's a critique in there of other blockbusters and franchise culture and stuff. I imagine that doesn't translate if you're not steeped in the American movie-going culture.
Squid Game, it's going to suck. Awful subtitles.
Yeah, I don't know if Simulate is going to translate all the other puns and like word jokes that they make.
That's unfortunate.
It actually might, just because I think in Korean they use the word simulation and latte.
Oh, perfect.
So it might actually work.
Perfect.
There you go.
So yeah,
interesting.
I liked it a lot. So, there's discourse is terrible. Don't ever participate in the discourse, but there's people who don't like it that are like, bad people. And then there's other people who are like, oh, it must be good because bad people don't like it. Just watch the movie yourself and make up your own mind. I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I don't care what everybody else says. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I kind of want to watch it again.
I super want to watch it again. Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you.
Nope, I think we all feel
I
that
have
way.
all week off,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
if anybody wants to watch a movie.
I have work in like 12 hours,
Ugh, it's gross.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It sucks.
I'm sorry.
All right.
Probably
All
do
right,
too.
what was did you say you had something fun or whatever at the end, or?
I did not. I said I had something fun at the beginning and then you ruined it. Again, you already forgot that we
Do you want to re-record the beginning?
it's not how jokes work. You can't just do it again.
Well, that was for stealing my kung fu thing like the whole time last time.
Which I had written down.
Yeah, so did I. Mentally.
All right.
All right, we could wrap it up. You guys, this is
trying.
3 hours in probably. Thanks for listening.
I'm unplugging.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening. Don't unplug while it's recording. God.
Oh, that was a thing. You can't unplug while it's live. You're right. That was my bad.
You'll die.
It was,
Time to unplug.
this has been fun, guys.
Okay, I gotta say, so you can follow us on Instagram.
Fuck that.
Late to number 2 to the movies, late to the movies _pod on Instagram. You can also find us on TeePublic. It's the Late to the Movies storefront. We also have
Dun, 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 dun.
an email. We finally made it to 1990-ish. And we have our own email. I forgot what it is.
It's a Hotmail account. No, it's not.
So far, it's just Al Gore.
You can find us on
Stop
Friendster.
global warming.
No, it's late to the number 2, the movies at gmail.com.
There you go.
Send some emails.
If we got enough like questions or whatever, like that'd be fun to address on the pod.
We'll
There's a-
delete the account completely.
Yeah, exactly.
Questions, comments.
Yeah,
Movies
anything.
you'd like to hear about.
I'm happy to answer questions on the pod. If there's enough questions, we can do a mailbag episode, and then we don't have to watch a movie for that. Ha ha ha. Joke's on you. Any feedback. I mean, we're just sort of in our own little bubble, our own sort of echo chamber, literally at times. So any feedback, if it's negative, Noah won't let me see it.
Yep.
But if it's positive, I'd love to
Anything
hear
too
it.
critical won't get through the filter, so but you can send it anyways.
Yeah. So thanks, guys.
Insert unplugged noise now.
Kablum.
See you in the Matrix.
Ugh.